Welcome to the Speak to the Soul podcast. We are a wellness podcast sharing stories and strategies to inspire you to evolve your capacity in a world full of demands. We are driven by the hope that you are valued as souls and not statistics. I'm your host, Dr. Dominique Pritchett. Let's get into this episode. Some of us aren't afraid of failing. We are afraid of evolving. Taking a chance means letting go of the version of yourself that has kept everything safe but stuck, second guessing and disguised as strength. Imagine a future you where you bravely step into this new chapter. What would you tell yourself about the risks worth taking right now? Today, I want to chat about how safe risk taking can support your emotional wellness, leadership identity, and relationships. The goal is to help you embrace change, evolve your capacity with wisdom and courage, not debilitating fear. Many professionals, especially women, and I'm going to go a step even further and say Black women, find themselves clinging to the familiar, especially when it leaves them unfulfilled. In fact, people will endure toxic workplaces, relationships, stagnant situations, relationships that should have left a long time ago, rather than risk the unknown. I like to think this is the reluctance that's often driven by a resistance to change, whether it is related to a traumatic experience, whether it is related to a narrative that is outdated, or just plain old fear. And there are many other variables I'm sure you can mention of why people have a reluctance to move, shift, and change. Yet, when we look back on life, and as a therapist, I have worked in many settings, all the way from in home therapy. I've worked with elderly population. I've worked in psych. I've worked in the ER, crisis, corrections, you name it. And I have met many people in their last days. And so many of them have made statements such as, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life that was true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. Today is National Take a Chance Day. Found that out this morning. Who knew that was a thing? Okay. But when you think about that statement from individuals who are in their last days, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Wow. I'm Dr. Dominique Pritchett. I partner with individuals and organizations to evolve their mental capacity to prevent burnout in a world full of demands so that they can live, lead, and liberate their wellness. I want to share 5 points about taking a chance. And they're in no particular order. They came up as I was journaling and reflecting on this whole celebration of today, Take a Chance Day. Point one, facing the fear. We can either fail and not do it, or we can evolve while we're doing it. The key insight I want you to think of is fear of change is natural, fear of chance is natural, but it can disguise itself. I want you to think about, are you truly afraid of failure or what success and growth might demand from you? You hear many people talk about, I'm building a legacy, I'm gonna leave a legacy. I always say, are you living the legacy? A legacy, your legacy. But when we start achieving more, more is expected of us. And so I always check myself, ask my clients, and I invite them to explore when we talk about being afraid of failure, is it connected to who will I be able to maintain the success? Because in failure, you probably did a lot of stuff by yourself to fail. But when it comes to success, you got to lean on other people to sustain that success and continue to grow. But many of us have not taken those chances to trust and build relationships. Okay. Step outside of our comfort zone, speak up in meetings. And so, therefore, if we keep doing those things, can I navigate what's demanded of me? Psychology recognizes fear of success as a real thing. I talk about it a lot with my clients. I work with a lot of professional clients in the sense of the roles that they are in. And also I work with a lot of athletes and teenagers. And so that fear of success is a real thing. Being afraid of achieving something to the point where you might self-sabotage. In other words, you might unconsciously resist that promotion, push yourself harder at practice, make a change within your business as a leader, start a new business, or just make a bold life change because it threatens your current identity. Remember, your current identity is tied to whatever it is before that change. After all, change triggers our instinct for self preservation. Fear, that we know it, is an evolutionary response that's meant to keep us safe. There is nothing wrong with that. And if we allow it to debilitate us, are we really safe within or externally? That comfort becomes the status quo. And so that status quo can feel like a shelter, but in fact, it might be a cage. So some points I want you to take away from that part is safe, but do you feel stuck? A part of you prefers the familiar. I don't like change. I don't like change. I would prefer that I didn't have to change anything. As a person that openly lives with obsessive compulsive disorder, I like routines because I count things. I like things in order. I like cleanliness. And so any change can be very disruptive to my mindset and to my ability to adapt back. But you put me into a critical incident response, change is happening by the second. And so when I think about being safe but stuck, I like the familiar. Can you relate to that? Here's the thing, we even like the familiar, even if it's limiting us, because fearing the uncertainty can create fear of uncertainty of growing. I like to thank my inner voice for protecting me. And I like to use it as a reminder that growth does not mean that you will be in danger or that you are in danger. It might make you uncomfortable. It might make other people uncomfortable, but it doesn't always mean danger. So, the second point I want you to take from facing that fear, failing, or versus evolving is reframing that fear. As a therapist who utilizes cognitive behavioral therapy within the therapeutic practice, but I also use cognitive behavioral skill sets when I'm going into organizations to speak and train, is oftentimes we want to reframe things too fast because we want to get away from that discomfort. I tell my clients clinically and non clinically to identify what is at the core of that fear. So process it, sit with it, sit in that discomfort long enough where you can develop a solution. In that solution, you can begin to reframe it. So instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, view it as a sign that something important is at stake. Fear is our alarm system, but we want to hurry up and get away from it because it's scary and it doesn't feel good. The goal is not to eradicate fear, but to truly understand it. There's a message in there. This is where we start developing skills like elevating our emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize and name our feelings so that we can use, understand, and apply them to navigate the world. But that has to happen with that. It's a hard, that might be hard to have happen. Oh, that was a mouthful. If we lack self awareness as well as social awareness. So I need you to ask yourself, are you feeling fear of failure? I'll embarrass myself if that don't work out. Or are you fearing evolving? If I succeed, life will change. And that's scary. Two different things, but they are often misinterpreted. So, by pinpointing your fear, you can address the problem head on. Don't run from it, face it. So, I want you to imagine there is a person standing still as life rushes by. I like to use the visualization with my clients. Imagine you are standing on the edge of where the train goes by at the train station safely. You're standing right there, and that train is in motion. Picture that image of how staying safe in your comfort zone can leave you standing right there as that train moves by. And that train is the world that you say you want. That train is the dreams that you've talked about, the vision that you casually talked about at dinner over a really nice meal. It is passing you by if you don't make a move on it. So, overcoming the fear of change is crucial to avoid getting left behind for yourself and your dreams. So, I'm going to give you some reflective prompts as well, now that they're coming to me. The prompt I want you to think about, have conversations about, or maybe even journal about is, what's one change you've been putting off because it feels safer to stay where you are? Dig deep. It might be uncomfortable, but dig deep. What's one change you've been putting off because it feels safer to stay where you are? Are you more afraid of a possible failure or of shedding your old familiar self and role to evolve into someone new? Someone once asked me, are you willing to risk who you are today for who you say you desire to become? Think about that. The point number two I want to make about emotional wellness, building your safe space for risk taking. The insight here is, when we step outside of our comfort zone, it doesn't mean we abandon our all sense of our security, who we are, what we do well, and our comforts. In fact, emotional wellness thrives when we can find harmony in our bravery, because we get to have self compassion and we get to take risks and all of that. That's where we truly thrive. You can take risks safely by ensuring you have a foundation that is built on psychological safety in your life. Psychological safety is the belief, and whenever I give a definition, it's intended to be a short, memorable version. And obviously, there are a lot of studies, versions of all of these things, just like emotional intelligence. So short, memorable definitions, so they're not all inclusive. So, psychological safety is the belief that you will not be punished or humiliated for being open, taking risks, asking questions, whether it's in your workplace, your church, your community, and but it matters in your personal life too. Without a baseline sense of safety, our bodies go into survival mode, and there is no capacity for joy when you are in constant survival, on alert, uncertain, second guessing, judging yourself. In other words, when we feel at least somewhat safe, in order to truly do what we say we want to do, we can experience more joy, happiness, and we can grow. I want you to keep in mind these three things as we talk about point number two, which is emotional wellness. As it relates to emotional intelligence and self care, remember, we already talked about emotional intelligence. It is, I want you to use it to monitor your internal state as you take on new challenges. Okay. Remember, today is Take a Chance Day. Are you overwhelmed? Are you anxious? Are you excited? Are you eager? Learn different types of emotions and feelings. Learn them so that you can name them. And here's the thing, sometimes you can't. Like, people like, you got to name it to tame it. Yes, and okay. But when you're able to at least be in touch with them, you're able to be intentional about your self care. So I truly believe in that, whether your self care is taking adequate rest, taking time off, supporting a friend, practicing mindfulness, going for a walk, whatever you need to do for self care, there you can expand the concept of what you need to do. Not expand capacity, but expand the possibilities of what you can do, whether it's to handle stress, to manage your wellness. So if you find your heart racing and anxiety is always there at the thought of change, pause, pause, ground yourself. Emotional wellness is not the absence of fear, but the ability to soothe and support yourself through it. And that requires self compassion, that requires having coping skills already in motion versus being reactive, that requires you redefining what does it mean to have peace and boundaries and all of that. Okay. A sub point I want to make in here again is gradual exposure. Remember, I said today is take a chance day. And so I want you to understand how can you safely take chances, whether it's chance or change. So gradual exposure is you don't have to take a leap off a cliff without a harness in order to start exposing yourself to change, differences, to grow. Identify small, safe risks that support your growth. For example, if the ultimate goal is for you to change careers, a safe risk might be maybe networking. Start networking with people who are either doing your job at work at the a company you desire to go to, or even micro enroll in a class to up level your skill set. Reach out to a mentor while you're still at your current job if it's safe and you trust them. These are small steps, and this is just one example of a thousand things that can come to my mind. These smaller steps gives you proof that you can survive change and even joy in the process. When we can reinforce our internal sense of safety, it boosts our confidence. It disquiets that unproductive fear. Okay. Research suggests that starting small and planning are effective strategies. It allows you to gather information, prepare, and take leaps and increments, not big old leaps, because that can cause a lot of stress on the back end. And third, under this point, is build your support network with people who encourage your evolution. Talk about your plans with trusted people. I always say, stop talking about to your friends about what you should do, and talk to your friends about how they can help you on what you will do. Okay? Talk to your mentors, talk to your support groups, talk to your therapists. Create that external safety net when the internal starts like, girl, don't go over there. We don't like it over there. Create the external safety net. When you know someone has your back, it's easier to venture into the unknown. Trust and believe. I've done it many times, like, oh, I fell, but y'all caught me. Okay. Conversely, be mindful of the naysayers. There's always someone that's going to be like, you doing too much. You slow down. Why did you do that? All of that. Unless you are helping me identify a blind spot or you are being somewhat productive in your criticism, naysayers are just noise. Okay. Those are the people who benefit from you staying stuck. So seek out the voices that will help carry your dreams, not just your fears. So, the reflective prompt I want you to consider is how can you create a sense of safety for yourself, even as you take a chance? Think of one concrete way to support your emotional well being during an upcoming risk or challenge. Be proactive, schedule the debrief with the friend, plan a calming activity or something right before a difficult conversation or after. What would make you feel seen, supported, and safe as you think about that, taking that chance? A third point I want to make as relates to this big old topic of take a chance day is evolving your leadership identity. We're all leaders. We are all leaders, and it starts with leading our own life. When we think about life transitions, it often comes with a shift in our identity. Okay. I just turned 40 in January and I'm going through a lot of life transitions. And my doctor recently talked about perimenopause. And I was like, oh, Lord, I ain't ready for that part of my identity. But I said, okay, I can take the lead on educating myself, take the lead on joining some support groups, all of that. And so I know that life transition is coming. So I have to take initiative and leadership because I don't want to be caught off guard when she shows up. So as you take chances and grow, you are essentially stepping into new leadership roles with every chance and risk you take. That is proof that you are a leader of your own evolving life. This isn't just about doing it, like I said, doing it by yourself. Self-leadership does involve other people. It's understanding who you are, intentionally guiding yourself towards your goals. As a person that works with a lot of women, emphasis on Black women, many of us hesitate to claim leadership in our own stories. We might downplay our ambitions or wait for permission to move forward. It's time to change that narrative from playing small to playing big. It's been cited 1,000 times, but the one I found was from Harvard Business Review. It stated men will apply for a job when they only meet 60% of the qualifications, but women often apply if they meet nearly 100% of the requirements. This highlights how women have a tendency to hold back unless they feel completely ready or qualified. We are qualified, we've been qualified. So, this can be a cautious approach that can limit opportunities. When you are evolving your leadership identity, practice betting on yourself, even before you have all of the proof, and even if you don't meet all the requirements. You don't need to be perfect to lead. Take on the challenge. Give yourself permission to learn as you go. With a lack of self belief, it's common to hear that inner whisper, that inner critic. Who do you think you are to do this? Okay. I call that limited self belief, and more popularly, yes, imposter syndrome. Okay. That often comes with growth when you are not practicing, prioritizing your belief system, revisiting it, making sure it's still good. So when you recognize that you this is coming up for you, that might be new territory, but better yet, it might be old territory because you were once the expert of what you were comfortable with, but now you got to become a new expert. So lead with your values when you are taking that leap of faith. As you evolve, clarify your core values. Even before you evolve, clarify your core values. Like I said, revisit your belief systems, your narratives, your schemas, which are your worldviews, and let them guide you. This is the essence of authentic self leadership, making choices that align with what truly matters to you: integrity, well being. If you say those things, it's important that you apply them everywhere, whether it means leaving a toxic and abusive workplace for that scary career move. That is acting on your values. So, a reflective prompt I want you all to think about: envision your future self who has grown into the leader you aspire to be. What advice or encouragement would that wise, empowered version of yourself give to your current self? What step can you take today as an act of self leadership in your transition? This is actually one of the topics I love speaking with organizations about. Remember, I speak from corporate, college to community agencies. This is a topic I love speaking about because whenever we talk about leadership, a lot of people gravitate towards C suite, which is great. What about middle management leadership? What about folks who are on the front lines per se? And but that self leadership is often not taught because it's assumed it's a motivation thing. Okay. So it's one of the topics I love talking about. Okay. So point number 4 I want to make on this topic, then I'm going to be wrapping up: healthy relationships. There is so much risk when you are building, maintaining, and sustaining healthy relationships. Risk taking happens even in the connections that you have. Taking a chance is not limited to our career and personal achievements. It is equally vital in the relationships that we encounter every day. People who are leaving abusive or toxic relationships or workplaces, it is important that you stand firm in your choice. Reaffirm your boundaries. Be vulnerable enough to seek out help. The paradox of relationships is that risk and reward go hand in hand. We risk discomfort or rejection in order to gain intimacy, respect, and genuine support. I already talked about psychological safety. I That's definitely important as we flourish in relationships where we can feel safe, we can speak up, and in our relationships we can thrive. Ask yourself, do your relationships, whether it's romantic or work, do they offer psychological safety? Can you be your authentic, vulnerable self without fear or ridicule or retribution? And when I talk about vulnerable self, that don't mean constantly falling apart. There is a degree that you have to maintain yourself in certain environments. Do the work outside of work. Okay. And with your authentic self is where you're not editing or code switching just to survive. Okay. It's important that you have hard conversations. When you have hard conversations, it is a open door for vulnerability. It is a birthplace for innovation. Try it. And lastly, right before I get to that point, when I think of a recent friendship circle that I'm building with two amazing women, and there is a lot of taking chances to be authentic, showing up, getting things wrong, okay, and learning from each other. We are three women who met, oh boy, a few years ago now at a retreat, okay? We are three women celebrating a successful climb individually and together. There is a powerful visual of trust and support between us. There is a degree of psychological safety where we can get it wrong, say too much, but we definitely created space to call each other out and to uplift each other through those challenges. Much like climbers who are climbing mountains, scaling mountains. Because in order to reach that new height, and I value this circle, we have to lift each other up. Okay. Lastly, and I have to get going, letting go of safe but stuck by embracing your evolving self. Every chance you take is a step towards becoming a fuller version of yourself. But growth often requires shedding old skin, for lack of better words. I don't know, old skin. Okay. Think of a snake that's shedding old skin. It's time to release that version of you that stays safe but stuck and step into your evolving self. This is both an ending and a beginning, and it's completely normal to grieve the ending or the uncertainty as you let go of the familiar. Honor that old self. They brought you this far. Quit acting like you don't know that person. Okay. This opens yourself up for what's next. I believe when people start forgetting where they came from, and that doesn't mean stay stuck in memories that no longer serve you or be in denial. I believe there is so many answers and so much empowerment when we can acknowledge our growth. And so when you think about letting go of safe but stuck, I want you to focus on identity shift. Whether you are transitioning from jobs, relationships, remember you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. The strengths, the lessons, the values you carry, they will form the next chapters. You ain't gotta burn out or stress yourself out about it. What you've gained this far in your life, adapt it. Give yourself permission to evolve. You all hear me talk time and time again about evolving your capacity. This is the essence of it. Within that, there is courage, resilience, and permission to keep going. Your self compassion has to override perfection. It has to. So, this is what I want you to think about. As you commit to taking your next bold step, I want you to remember that taking a chance is not about being reckless. It's about using courage with wisdom. You've reflected over your fears, emotional wellness, leadership, relationships, and identity throughout my discussion today. Now, the question becomes, what will you do with these insights? Identify one meaningful change you will take in the next week or a month or few months. It could be a big one or a small one. It could be a life changing decision. Maybe you are drafting a resignation from that toxic job. Maybe you are applying for that job. Maybe you are asking someone out on a date. Maybe you are telling your support circle something you've never shared with them. Whatever it is, remember, write it down, commit to it, make the plan, and make the effort. This is your pledge to yourself on National Take a Chance Day. Whether you are speaking it or typing it, it gives it power. You don't have to have it all figured out. You need to take a step. Take the step. You are more than capable, and you know that. Safe does not mean small, and evolving does not mean facing it alone. Dare to take the risk, dare to take the chance. In the wise words of an old proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Your evolution is waiting for you. Take the chance because your future self is rooting for you, and I am too. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe, download, and share. Got a topic you would like us to cover? Don't hesitate to send us a message. We welcome you to connect with us across social media platforms to stay in the know about Speak to the